Welcome to Drive Time. My name is Dylan Stafford. I'm an assistant dean here at UCLA Anderson. I'm your host today. With me is Susan Francia, a recent graduate of the UCLA Anderson MBA experience here. Woohoo! Susan currently is, she drove up from San Diego today. Thank you. I appreciate that. Her horse almost ran out.
It almost ran out of hay, yes.
Yes, but she made it. We're here on a Saturday, so this is a special session, and I really appreciate your flexibility. Susan down there is working, well, she has two things going. She's a business development manager at TriLink BioTech. They're actually working on the coronavirus vaccine right now, and this is a new role. She'll tell you about that. She also has her own entrepreneurial startup, Coach Francia LLC, where they do some really progressive team building, and you're going to hear about that. One small backstory about Susan. She's a two-time Olympian, gold medalist from both Beijing in 2008 and London 2000.
And that warrants another woohoo!
That warrants another woohoo. And as you will hear in her career, you know, after you win gold, two different Olympics, two different continents, you know, the most important next step is to
Yep, got to get that MBA from UCLA.
Get thee to UCLA as quick as you can. So it's been my, I've been waiting to have this interview for about a year and a half since you graduated. So I'm thrilled that we get to do this. So we're going to cover a lot of good things, and you're gonna get to meet a really special person in our constellation. So thank you for being here, Susan.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right, so let's tell people before all the cool stuff. You know, where'd you grow up? Tell us about the kind of the start of your life journey.
Yeah, so actually a lot of people don't know that even though, so I represented the U.S. at the Olympics, but actually I was born in Hungary.
You were born in Hungary? Okay.
Yeah. Both my parents are Hungarian, and my mom came over. She was a PhD in molecular biology, and she came over to work in academia. And so my dad and we came over with her. So yeah,
How old were you when you came?
I was about 2.5.
Okay, so
3 years old. Yeah, so I don't really remember.
Where did you all start out?
So we actually started in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Yeah, but actually, so one of the kind of crazy things was this was the time of the Iron Curtain, and you couldn't really leave the country. They didn't really want people moving away. And so you couldn't take out foreign currency that was over a certain limit. But if my mom was coming over on this visa, and it was supposed to be like 6 months to a year, maybe longer. And so we had to ask all of our family and relatives to take cash out, U.S. dollars. But again, you couldn't have it on you. So actually, they sewed it into my teddy bear.
Oh my goodness.
That I came over with on the airplane. It was our first time ever on an airplane, and my parents are moving to the U.S. So it was pretty wild, yeah. So they were always like, okay, where's the kid? Where's the teddy bear? It's our life savings is in this bear. So yeah, I do have to say I have lived the American dream.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That is so cool. And now, are your parents retired now, or
No. So my mom, she works at a biotech.
Okay. Oh,
okay. Similar.
So it's in
a similar field. Yeah. So it's pretty cool that we get to work in a similar field. She's much more knowledgeable, and she has the science background. I have the business background. But it's neat that we're kind of in the same industry.
That is so great. This is what I love about America.
Yeah.
I won't get into walls and bridges, but I'm a bridge fan more than a wall fan. Because when amazing people from around the world come here, it seems like it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is amazing. Funny enough, the Hungarian president was in the U.S. doing a tour, and he said to me after I had already won, he said, actually, if you come to Hungary and you win a medal for us, because you are, so I'm a dual citizen.
Oh, okay.
He said, if you win for Hungary, you get $250,000, not $25,000. And I said, thank you. I appreciate that. But this is where, I fought with my team, fought together with my team and my coaches in the U.S. And this is where I learned the sport. So,
okay. So thank you for the offer.
I'm happy to represent the U.S. So.
Oh, that's wow. And it's good to have options. So, dual citizenship, hey, it's good to have options. Now, you went to University of Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. How did you choose that school? What'd you major?
Well, so my mom was working there.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah,
okay,
so
good.
she was on the faculty at Penn. And And I had a discounted tuition.
Oh, very good.
And so she said, you better get in. I was like, okay, Mom, I'm on it.
Okay.
And actually at that time, so I'm tall. You guys can't really tell at home because I'm 6'2". And I was 6'2" in 9th grade.
In 9th grade?
In 9th grade, I was this height.
Wow.
But,
That's when the boys are still 5'1".
Oh my gosh, I was so much taller than everyone. I just wanted to fit in, but that's okay. I'm in the end, it worked out. Okay. But, yeah, in high school, I got one athletic award. I tried all different sports, but the one athletic award I received was most spirited.
Nice.
That was the only award I got. I know.
Got one.
So, I was like, okay, I need to focus on academics.
Okay.
And so I went to Penn solely on academics. And but I loved it there.
What did you major in?
I ended up majoring in sociology of law. And then my senior year, I had sub-matriculated into a master's program.
Okay.
And so I got my master's, my MS in criminology.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Things you didn't even know.
Things I did not know. If you put that in your admission essay, my small brain
Mine would have been blown.
Mind blown. Excellent. So now, when did athletics start? How did that start?
Yeah. So actually,
because you didn't row because your medals are in rowing. So.
My medals are in rowing. I didn't row in high school, and my freshman year of college, I didn't do any athletics.
Okay.
And I realized that kind of academic sport balance was really missing, and I was missing structure, and my grades actually were pretty bad my first year. And
that kind of freshman lost.
Yeah. And my parents said, listen, we're not paying for this school for you to go and screw around, so figure it out. And I literally just looked through a book, and I was like, okay, what can I sign up for? And I was like, okay, rowing. I heard that's a tall person sport. Maybe it'll work out for me. And I started, and I just fell in love with it. It was so amazing being out so close to the water, and I was propelling like the boat through the water, and I was with my friends, and you could see the Philadelphia skyline.
What
on the
water
Schuylkill
do you
River.
row on in Philadelphia?
It's the Schuylkill River.
The Schuylkill River, okay.
And there's a big history for rowing out in Philadelphia. So it's just really kind of magical to be a part of that. And I really fell in love with it. And then, of course, there's the hard aspect of it of like, okay, you're pushing yourself, you're in pain, and there's a lot of lactic acid burning, but also like, wow, you're going so fast, and, you can win races if you just push yourself a little harder. And I'm a very competitive person.
Okay, good.
And I just fell in love with this whole idea, and just even like the feeling of being out there and moving together with 7 other people. It really is. It's magic.
No, that's now. So your sophomore year you started, and then you were on a team all 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep. So I was on the Penn varsity team, and my senior year, so I was working on my master's and trying to graduate in the 4 years with everything. And so I thought, okay, well, I had gotten a job offer, and I also was considering working at the FBI. That was really that's where I was kind of gearing. But my coach said, you could go to the Olympics. And I said, okay, you know what? That's what I want to do. Like, I want to go see if I can be the best in the world at something.
At something, yeah.
At something. So my parents were a little surprised because, they had been encouraging the whole time, but...
Well, Mom's a PhD. I mean, were they athletes?
Yeah,
parents?
they're
they were.
They're
Okay.
Tall and athletic.
Oh, so they're smart. They're smart and athletic. Okay, good.
And good looking.
You're
welcome, Mom and Dad. But yeah, no, so they were really supportive, but they were a little bit like, are you sure you're the most spirited? You're not the MVP. So I started on the U.S. team, and there everyone was my height. It was no longer really this big advantage. But I just loved it, and I just loved getting up every day and, all right, how can I push myself today, and what am I capable of today, and just kind of, it's small steps, and it's a grind. A lot of people, they just see, oh, the Olympics, on the TV once every 4 years, but it's that every day.
Like how many hours a week is the training regimen?
Well,
as you got serious, well, I guess if you're varsity at Penn, that was already
varsity at Penn
serious.
was to a point. That's
Okay.
like 4 hours.
a day.
A day.
3-4 hours a day while you're a full-time college
maybe 3. We'll say 3.
student. Okay.
But then when it's your full time, then it's about 6 hours. And then around the 6 hours of training, where it's like 2 or 3 training sessions a day, you're doing everything to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds really fun. Like, oh man, you ate 5,000 calories today? That sounds awesome. But after a while, you get tired of just constantly eating. And it's like, my dad would call me, oh, how are things? And I'd be like, yeah, I just woke up from my nap. And he'd be like, oh man, what a life. Enjoy those naps. In the real world, there's no nap time.
There's no napping in baseball. Yes. Oh my.
But it was really great. And, leading up to that first Olympics was just an incredible experience because it was so competitive to even get to the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And our coach did a very good job of making a lot of internal competition, but also making us feel like we needed each other. So it wasn't...
How many people are on the boat?
So there are 8 of us in the boat. And they're at that point, by the closer to the Olympics, about 20 of us kind of fighting for those 8 spots.
Wow.
So it had been kind of weeded down to the 8, and even just that month leading up to the selection date was hell.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were just constantly racing, and at this point you're just reflecting like, oh my gosh, this is 4 years that I put into this, and this is what it comes down to, this last race. So there's so much pressure. And honestly, I'm so grateful that our coach put us through that, because then when we got to the starting line of the Olympics, it was like, oh, I just have to do one race. And I got my teammates, they got my back, and we know exactly, how to go get into this, and we're excited to race.
Who was the country you were most worried about?
Probably Romania.
Okay.
They had won the previous, I think it was like 16 years, the Olympics, the previous 16 years.
Wow, the last 4 Olympics, they were the...
Yeah.
Okay, so they were the team.
And the U.S. had never won.
Oh, I forgot that part.
Yeah.
Oh.
And then we came away with the
Okay,
gold.
I haven't seen this yet.
Ta-da!
Woo! Oh my God.
And...
Can I touch it?
Yeah,
Oh my
please.
Wow. Oh, it's heavy.
I know.
Oh my.
Well, and you'll know that Kobe Bryant also held this medal.
No way.
Yeah. So, at the day after we won, I was hanging out at the in the athlete village.
Mm-hmm. So this is 2008 in Beijing.
And I ended up meeting Dwight Howard, and this was super cool. So I didn't really know who he was, but everyone has to wear a name tag, so it was perfect. So
help me out
I
here.
was like, oh, I was like, oh, he's on the NBA. He's talking about playing in their game that day against Spain or someone. And so I was like, oh, guess what? I'm a rower. I just won. He's like, no way. So Dwight Howard had put the medal around his neck, which is like a huge faux pas.
Oh, you're not supposed to do that.
If you're still competing, you don't put someone else's medal around your neck, because it's could be bad luck,
Oh, okay. All right.
So Dwight Howard puts the medal around his neck, and he's looking at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. He's admiring it. And out of the darkness, literally it was nighttime, and Kobe Bryant walked up. And he just sees Dwight holding the medal. And he's like, oh, hey, man, where'd you get that from? And I was like, oh, hi, it's mine. All sheepishly.
Aww, that's sweet.
And so Kobe was like, oh, hey, who are you? And I'm like, hi, I'm Susan. And Kobe is like, oh, hey, I'm Kobe. And I was like, I know.
I think I've seen you on TV.
It was just so cool for, this moment where both of them are looking at my medal.
Mm-hmm.
And, these guys, they get paid millions. And they're, so, global superstars. And at the end of the day, they're going for the same goal that I am.
Aw.
And it was just such a cool feeling to have those guys like admiring, this gold and asking me about my sport and wanting to know more about training. And it was a really cool moment. It really made me realize like what an impact this has, not just on myself, but on others.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I'm trying to, of course I'm trying to go my course and career and stuff, but I think it's really important to share this with people.
Well, and I saw, so we're in February of 2020, so Los Angeles is still grieving.
Yeah.
And I grew up in Texas, and I mean, I thought everybody knew Kobe, but I didn't realize if you've lived in Los Angeles for the last 25 years, you literally watched him arrive, and you watched him do everything he did. I mean, there are people who I would have assumed would have been touched by Kobe,
Mm-hmm.
and then there are all these people who are just touched by the passing of Kobe that once they tell me why, like I had no idea how connected his life story is to the story of this entire city, up, down, left, right,
Yep.
north, south, east, west. It's really been the loss of a part of the heart of the place. And I saw your post on LinkedIn where you shared the picture of you and Dwight, where it's the only picture I've ever seen where you don't look tall.
I know, those guys make me look like a shrimp.
You look like a little 5'2" person there, but you don't realize how tall NBA athletes
those guys
actually are.
Yeah. And actually, I think Kobe also really helped me realize, just how I want to be. So when someone at the grocery store, and believe me, people ask me all the time, "Oh my gosh, are you an athlete? Like, oh, what do you do?" And he is just the way he always embodied like sport and also representing basketball and the U.S. and the Lakers. I just always really admired how he would just engage with everyone, and just so humble. And so I was like, okay, even if I'm really tired or annoyed or whatever, and someone's just told me for the 5th time how tall I am, like, yes,
I've known this since ninth grade.
I know.
It's not news to me.
I just have to put on a smile and say, yeah, thank you. Actually, I do rowing, and I had the opportunity to represent the U.S. and that means something. And even just how I realize now that I represent the U.S. and I represent how maybe someone will perceive Olympic athletes. So that was kind of a cool lesson that I learned from those guys. Also a bit of fun Olympic trivia. This is my other medal from London. I continued
what's it
on.
like? So what was it like to go again? Because there's the first time of anything is so focused.
It is.
And then
it's
how
actually,
do you maintain?
It's almost easier to go for a first. So
Okay.
people like Michael Phelps, I have a true admiration for going like back to back to back. Because it's one thing to like go once and be like, okay, I'm just dreaming about what that's like. But then when you do it, and then the ups and downs after, where your expectations have now changed. You just think to yourself, oh, well, I'm an Olympic champion. Like, oh, why can't I do this? Why are these people beating me? Like
Wow.
my teammates. Why are my teammates all of a sudden beating me in races? And so going back for London was tough. Also because you a little bit forget how hard it is to get to that first one. You're like, oh, that was fun. And then it's
You
like,
just have the good memories without the
and
6
then
hours
you're
a day
like,
for 4
and
years.
even the selection, again, it was back to the same selection. And
like
I
you
just,
didn't get any points for having been there.
No, I didn't. Thanks, Coach Tom. But also, I knew that it was worth it. And just even being on that world stage, there's nothing like it.
Do you know, so was it the same 8-person team in London?
It was very...
I'm sorry, the same number of people.
Yep.
Is not the question. The question I want to ask, how many people rowed again and how many people were new?
It was a very similar boat.
Oh, okay.
So, which is great because trust is such a huge element in rowing. And knowing that I had been to one Olympics with most of these ladies and just going into London, it was like, okay, I know how they're going to react and deal with the pressure. And I love that these guys have my back.
And you guys have, well, okay, let me ask it. I'm not going to assume. Are you still friends today?
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
When you go through all of that, there's those are lifelong, practically blood relationships, you know?
Because you've shared something that...
Yeah. And even just the highs and lows, like the few people understand really what we went through. And so it's great to have those relationships.
And who was the team to beat in London? Was it Romania?
In London,
again?
it was Canada.
It was Canada.
Yeah.
That one was a pretty close finish.
But also, it had been, but the other crazy thing was, so after we won Beijing, it was like, all right, we were on a roll and like we couldn't stop winning. Now, instead of being the underdogs like we were in Beijing, we were the targets.
Everybody's aiming at you.
Yeah. And that was also a fun kind of a different mindset of like, okay, people are coming for us. Hey, walk a little bit taller and have that confidence. Like, okay, yeah, come after me. You can't touch me. I'm gonna win.
Okay, so they're probably out there going, ask her this. You know, I'm so starstruck. I'm like, okay, what's the cool question? Is there any Olympic question I should ask you that I haven't asked you? Because I mean, it's so like it's the most watched sporting event in human existence. Not the Super Bowl, not the World Cup. You know, the Olympics, nothing connects humanity on the planet in any sporting event more than the Olympics. It's the most watched thing there is.
Yeah.
And you got to do it. Anything that, you know, people might be curious about that people ask you a lot or anything like that?
I think one of the things that we kind of forget about when we go there is even just participation, you know, and seeing people from so many different parts of the world. I think that is really kind of like you're saying, just how it ties people from all over the planet together. And I got to see, you know, some runners from Kenya and who I had only really seen on TV running. And it was just like, you know, just their body type and seeing like, okay, well, for someone to be the best long distance runner, this is what they look like. Or for them to look at me probably and think like, wow, this is such a tall girl. Or seeing the Brazilian women volleyball players. My gosh, you think I'm tall? Wow, those girls are even taller than me. But it was so neat to see all these different people from all of these different nations. They're coming together, but also such different like body types and heights and what they need to be the best at their sport. It was just a really like, I was like, oh, I'm at like the, you know, athletic UN.
That's amazing. Wow.
So it was, well, I wish we could do like a big kickball game at the end of like just everybody and just
like
mix up
Frisbee
teams.
Or something.
Yeah.
See what happens. Yeah, because to run a marathon in under 2 hours, that takes a certain, you know, like...
Yeah, a certain frame, yeah.
Yeah, just
are you saying it's not going to be us? Yeah, it's not going to be
It
us.
would never be me. But yeah, that's... And then, you know, we're here in the brand new Marian Anderson Hall, and that's the Olympic Village right behind us.
Oh, really? This is where it's going to be?
Yeah, so UCLA undergrad. Yeah. We're looking out the window now, but so when Los Angeles hosts the third Olympics, 2028... UCLA is going to be the athlete village.
And this was also the athlete village in 1984, and I know that because it was in my admissions essay.
Which I forgot.
That's okay. No, yeah, so it was in my admissions essay.
Oh, that's funny. No, I forgot.
I was like, why do you want to go with UCLA? And I was like, oh, I want to come here because of the like rich heritage of sport, and because I wrote about how I wanted to go into sports afterwards and work in the sports business, and I was like, and
it worked. She earned her C. And okay, so two things off that. You know, there's I work out at the Wooden Center over here, and they got all the Wooden quotes on all the walls. John Wooden, our famous UCLA coach, John Wooden, and I love the one, talent may get you to the top, but it takes character to keep you there. And so I think even as you reflect on 2008 to 2012, I got to touch this one too.
Yeah.
I touched 2 Olympic medals.
That's $5.
I'll write a check. I'll write a check afterwards. Maybe it's a business expense. I don't know. But so like really there is the aim and accomplish it once. Your talent and your teamwork and Coach Tom, and then to do it again. So just that. And then let's transition. So somewhere after all of this amazing chapter of your life, then there's that, okay, I've won gold twice. now what? Or
Yeah.
when and how did an MBA start to enter your equation? This is not criminology. This
Yeah.
is, your training was all in San Diego for
It
the
was
Olympics?
between San Diego and Princeton, New Jersey.
Oh, okay, both.
Yeah, so both locations. And we would always just travel with the team.
Okay, but you weren't in you weren't in Los Angeles, really.
No, I was not. No.
Okay, so kind of tell us, when did you start thinking about an MBA? Why UCLA? What was that journey for you?
I actually always wanted to go back to business school.
Okay, so you knew that.
I felt like I always wanted to go back to school. I loved being in a classroom setting, which is weird to some people, but it's
not people who come to UCLA. We like smart people here.
But some people were like, "Oh, you want to go back to school?" And I was like, "Yeah, like I want to just do a deep dive into maybe things that I didn't get to study in college."
Mm-hmm.
That was one part of it. The other part was I realized, so I gained a lot of soft skills with this.
Mm-hmm.
I learned how to work with all sorts of people and leadership and teamwork. But I just felt like I was missing some of those early years, kind of formative years of a career.
Okay. Well, yeah, because the opportunity cost,
different.
You spent time doing other things.
And so I wanted to have a stronger quant base, for example. And also I just wanted to even be around or be surrounded by people from all different industries.
Mm-hmm.
And in rowing, actually, we're a little bit different. A lot of rowers come from Ivy League schools. They're very A-type. And they go on, a lot of them go into finance or coaching, but they're very driven individuals and everyone has a college degree. But also I wanted to surround myself with people who were coming from, the tech industry, entertainment, or, aerospace. I just wanted to hear different voices.
Nice.
Honestly.
Nice. Well, then all of a sudden it starts to make sense. So,
Mm-hmm.
and at the time you applied to FEMBA, you were in San Diego.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and you did FEMBA from San Diego the whole 2 years.
Yep.
What schedule did you choose originally? I forgot.
So for my core, I did the FEMBA Flex.
Okay, the hybrid. Okay.
Yep, I did the hybrid, and it's funny. At first, I think I was maybe talking to you about actually, I want to do Flex, but could I do some of the other classes? I kind of want to not do and I remember you said to me, listen, this is the core and just stick with this, and then afterwards you can, when you do the electives, you can have a different schedule. And hindsight, I was just so glad that the way the structure is the way it is, because I got to get so close to those classmates,
Mm-hmm.
which when I looked at kind of some other programs where they don't really make you go through a kind of core grouping, it's a little more scattered and you don't develop those relationships. And so I was really happy that, I was like, oh, okay, I get it now, why this is the structure. And then, so I stuck with Flex for some of my electives, and then I also decided, what, this drive isn't that bad. I will come up every Thursday, and I took class from 4 to 7 and then 7 to 10. So I took some full-time classes and then the evening classes.
Oh,
and
very good.
It was great. It was just mixing with people from, different industries, and then also the full-timers. So I just felt like I was able to just surround myself with a lot of, people from different industries, but also different kind of goals.
Nice. Yeah, because I'm sure the coaching, what we suggest to people is, try to pick a schedule that you can live with for a year,
Mm-hmm.
because you do, it's just repetition. I see this group of 65 people fall, winter, spring, and fall of my first year, and we're not going to be as tight as Olympic gold medalists in a rowing situation, but there's an affinity that comes with repetition.
Yeah.
And just, I saw you in the class where you shined. I saw you in the class where you struggled. You were my tutor in one class.
Yeah.
I got to have something to share to you in the other. So that, and then the electives, then you're going to build a second network, which is made out of
Mm-hmm.
people with, were all in finance electives or accounting or entertainment or whatever. That would have been probably where I was coming from. So you can move around, but if you can have that continuity, we find that it does give you a good...
It was really helpful. Yeah, good. I enjoyed it.
That's great. Now this is, I'm going to plant this in here because when we were kind of getting ready to have the conversation, you said, you talked about juggling and what it was like to balance, and you said that FEMBA, she actually said this, but you said FEMBA was a little bit like the Olympics, that the Olympics had trained you to, keep a focus, but also maintain a lot of things in parallel. What's it like or what was your experience like being an employed person, full-time grad student, all at the same time?
Oh, I think it was actually very helpful on two fronts. One was applying the things I was learning in school and in the classroom to the workplace the next day.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that I thought was very helpful was, again, this concept of juggling, which I like having that kind of, again, it just adds structure. But then now when I'm working at a biotech and also starting my own venture here with the Coach Francia LLC, I feel like it's very manageable and something that, I can do. And that's where I related it to the Olympics of like, hey, I went through this tough things of ups and downs and nervousness or whatever, and performing on the highest level. But like, okay, hey, I did that and I know I can do more. And so, going into the FEMBA program was like the same thing of like, okay, I'm working and I have school and like, okay, I can get through these things and try and get the most out of each one. Like I know I'm capable of it.
Well, I want them to hear about biotech and I want them to hear about Coach Francia, but you got to wait a little bit because I also want them to hear. So we talked about peaks and valleys and you wanted to tell them a little bit about the Global Access Program. So our master's thesis, tell a little bit. You had a company from Australia, if I remember?
Yep, I had a company from Australia, 776 BC, which
776 BC, what does that mean?
Do you know what that year represents?
776 BC. Oh, I was a history major.
Here's a hint.
Oh,
Should I wink more?
That when the Olympics began?
You can't see, but I'm winking. It is the first year of the Olympics.
Ancient Greece. Okay.
Very good. And they actually made, very coincidentally, rowing attire and
no way.
Yeah, and different sports
That's
attire.
So cool.
And so we ended up choosing them and they chose us. And it was just a really crazy and fun experience and going over there and learning about what apparel is, the apparel industry. And the funny thing was I was the presenter for our Gap group. And the day of the presentation, let me just give everyone a little hint. Make sure you put on the clothes that you will be wearing before you show up. Because I showed up and I brought a suit that I had gotten tailored in China during the Beijing Olympics. No joke. I had made it at the Beijing Olympics.
While we're here,
I was like,
you had time to get a suit made while you were at the Olympics?
I know. So I was like, yes, I get to wear my really awesome business suit. I didn't realize that over the years, the seam on the crotch had come undone.
Oh my!
Like it had just kind of split, whatever. It was
well, and custom clothes sometimes are a little more delicate.
So then I go to try it on. I'm like, oh my gosh! And I was at where where we do the presentations. Yeah. So then I'm like, guys, I had shorts on there. Like, what are you wearing? And I was like, we need to find a stapler or something. So we're running around from room to room. They thought I was going to be just practicing the last couple lines of the presentation.
This is a 6-month master's capstone.
My God, it all comes down to this one 10-minute presentation to 3 real investors. And I'm looking for a stapler. And they found a stapler, thank goodness. And we're like stapling around, and then I put it on, and I'm like, I don't even care how this feels. I'm just gonna play it off. This is great.
Game face, go time.
Game face, nothing wrong here. And I did get an A. Thank you very much.
You got an A. All right. 776 BC was a pleased.
Yep. Yeah, they were.
Global Access Program
Staples
company.
And all.
Okay. Wow. Oh, that's. Yeah. In public presentation, right? inspect, don't expect,
Yep.
right? And be prepared for anything. And, you know, and I think the confidence of the MBA, like I can walk into that. I mean, you walked in here with more, you're a unicorn. You had more than the normal amount of confidence, but confidence in athletics at that stage doesn't automatically translate to confidence in business. And all this is like, once you've done it, you've done it. But before you've done it, oh my.
Yeah, so that was a good one. But it did teach me a lot about preparation. And that was something that we did a lot in, you know, in sports. And it was something that I felt I did a lot throughout the program. But it's also a little bit of attention to detail, like clothes, right? But again, it's preparation. Are you, how are you prepared?
Make sure your laptop is charged up. Make sure you have the file online in a thumb drive. All those things. So another peak from the academic experience here was you did one of. We have our global immersions, but you did a really unique one. You went to.
So we went to Thailand and Myanmar.
And we'd never been before your trip, right? That was the first time we'd ever gone to Myanmar.
Yeah, and it was just a really amazing experience, and even hearing how the political landscape can affect the business in a region, and even what your political alliance is. I mean, okay, it's a little bit similar in the U.S., but there's laws here, right, that kind of regulate. And I know what if people will say, well, in the current events, but still.
But compared to the rest of the world,
compared
we're doing
to
very well.
Myanmar, you know, it was just so interesting to hear when we were there. You know, it was cool to learn about it in the classroom here at UCLA, but when we got there, just hearing these honest opinions from, you know, some academics, we listened to some professors, but also a lot of entrepreneurs and people in different industries there. Like, wow, it was just a very eye-opening of just how, you know, that global aspect really does affect, you know, what someone's doing on the kind of more micro level of their own business.
Yeah, Dean Olean always, you know, she was never a fan of Australia and London. You know, she wanted, not that she didn't love Australia and London, but in terms of, and she's Australian herself originally, but in terms of destinations, she wanted us to go to non-English speaking, emerging market, way outside of the comfort zone, and physically be there, physically see it, physically experience it. So, yeah, that was,
Yeah, and actually, so I also got to go to India, so speaking
that's right, you did too.
Emerging markets, and that was a really incredible experience, and I think the global immersion programs are, again, help you get closer to your classmates that are coming from the executive program, the full-time MBA, the FEMBA program. So that was actually very, very fun too, and I still keep in touch with those connections.
Well, yeah, because it's like everybody has to take a week off of work.
Yeah.
And you know, everybody's lives are so busy, but now we're all on a plane. Yeah. We're all going. We're in
all
country.
on a bus in the middle of India going from Delhi. You know,
you ride a lot of buses in country. You really do.
You get to know your classmates.
Yeah, and nobody wants to sleep because the time is so precious. Like, I'll sleep next week. So you know, they're long days, but you know, it's company visits and executives and government officials during the day, and then the evenings are full of cultural experience. You know, it's one of those things. My grandfather always said, you want to get to know someone, either break bread with them or travel with them. Yeah. And you get to do both.
I would keep doing those classes.
Oh, they're popular. No. Yeah, we have an entire, it started in FEMBA and EMBA, and now we have Lucy Allard and her team. It's actually a center of excellence here that we've invested in for the long haul. So, all right, so here we are now. So it's a year and a half after graduation. You're with TriLink BioTech. You're business development manager. You're working on the coronavirus vaccine. And you have Coach Francia LLC, where you're doing team building. So tell us about your corporate side, your entrepreneurial side.
So while I was at FEMBA, I was working at also in the bio space, working with a company that does clinical trials. And at the end of the last year, I realized I wanted to kind of go and stay in bio, but I started applying to jobs, and I ended up at TriLink. But even the job process, having that MBA was so helpful. And I was telling Dylan earlier that a lot of times where they ask for very specific experience that I didn't have, just having that UCLA MBA next to my name, they're, that's fantastic. Oh, yeah, don't worry about that. 5 or 7 years experience. Yeah, that makes up for it.
Nice.
And I'm thinking about all the fun I had on those global immersion trips. I'm like, yeah, that makes up for the experience in the lab. Okay. But no,
I'm not going to argue you away from that point of view. I see it the way you see it
Yes,
also.
exactly. But again, I think it goes back to that ability to, focus in on an academic subject and balance everything that's going along with it, the job. And so I think that's where those employers see that value, not just exactly, what we're learning in the classroom. And then I was really excited to start with TriLink. So they actually do a lot of the manufacturing for these vaccines and also for gene therapies. Nice. So it's very exciting to be on the cutting edge. And with Coach Francia LLC, I was excited because, I took some entrepreneurship classes here.
Excellent.
And I don't remember the professor's name. I apologize. But I was one of those Thursday classes, and every single day we would walk into the classroom, we'd sit down, and he would say, this really stuck with me, if you have the music in you, don't let the music die.
Ooh,
and he would just start the class every damn week. He would start with that saying, and I'd be like, oh, okay, all right, I'm gonna write it down. And it's something that has really just stuck with me. And I really enjoy working with people and kind of helping them figure out how to be a better teammate and also have better leadership skills. And so that's kind of like my side hobby. But my mom, also kind of going back to her, she is in the bio space, like I said, and she wants to start her own company. And so now I'm like the professor, and I tell her, and I email her all the time, like, don't let the music die. He said it to me,
Oh, how cool. Your mom, who's a PhD, you're paying forward your MBA lesson to support her taking that crazy brave step.
I'm trying to motivate her and just remembering what all the things that I learned in my entrepreneurial courses. So that's been kind of cool to have that kind of influence that from that UCLA had. Now I can kind of try and do that in the real world now, of starting a business, but also being in the industry and keep going with my career. And
one of the things you're doing with Coach Francia LLC is team building exercises in boats.
Yep.
What in the world is that?
Hey, that's going to be the next time you guys do your leadership week.
Okay, we're all going to San Diego.
Now, instead of going up on top of that log, and the ropes course, I was like shaking so hard that damn log was just moving all over the place. But that was pretty fun. And it was it was fun to see also how our teammates would react. And I know I'm more aware of it just because of this and kind of working with team building exercises. But I think next time you should bring everyone out in a boat.
Wow.
Yeah. And I think it was in one of my courses we were reading. I'll have to look up the professor later. But we learned about how if you do some kind of exercise or something with others that you perceive that you're in danger or it's a little more risky, that also in itself builds a bond, no matter what it is.
No matter what, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why I tried to scare the hell out of everyone in the boats.
Bond or drown. Bond or drown. It's executive team building.
Aren't you having fun?
And the risk assessment people we have all the C-suite in a boat with an Olympian. That seems right, unless this goes...
Why does she keep shaking the boat? No, I'm kidding.
Well, fantastic. Well, it's so great to watch. I want to follow, I'm not going to ask you where do you want to be in 5 to 10 years. We took that question out of the choice group. But I'm still going to be watching what you do in the next 5 to 10 years. my kind of wrap-up question, unless there's anything I've forgotten, any shout-outs to faculty or friends from school or anybody who needs an attaboy for help or attaperson for helping getting you through the program?
Just one quick shout out. Congrats to Amanda and Chris, Amanda Rothstein and Chris. I'm totally blanking on his last name, but they actually just got engaged and they were in my FEMBA class.
Oh,
yeah, and they were in the same core group.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah.
I love that. It's not a dating service, but
No,
it works. It works for some people. Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love the humanity. You know, everybody's here. Yay, we're going to, be CEO of our own life.
Also, I don't know if you remember Mary Devon Dietzen. She also, she was also one of our classmates, and it's kind of great whenever I come into LA. And they're like, "Oh, come stay with me." So I've been hanging out with her and seeing as many people as I can.
Awesome. I love Professor Foster from the Global Access Program says, for the rest of our business career, we always are asking 3 questions over and over. Who are you? Where are you going? Can I trust you? Mm-hmm. Right? Business is forever this relatedness, this relationship. So, you fill your LinkedIn with good people and you can leverage their expertise. You can call them for support. And that handshakes to hugs metaphor we use around here, Leadership Foundation's orientation's a handshake, and then commencement it's...
Actually, you know what? One last thing. In the leadership week, we also did... It wasn't the team building, but it was the following day where we had to do exercises with each other. Mm-hmm. And one of the big ones was making eye contact. And he brought up a really good point, like, when you were in the hallway and you know that person and that person knows you and you both know it, and then you just look the other way. Ooh. And this guy, I remember he made us like stare at each other and then also just bring up like literally saying hi. And it's so crazy at my current job. There are a lot of engineers and some very analytical people who, sometimes aren't, as crazy social as I am, but it's really fun to see like my bond with them just grow and improve because of some of these skills that I learned here. Even though, these are my soft skills, just passing someone in the hallway and just being like, I learned this in, the leadership week. Look at them and acknowledge them, smile, say hi. And what a difference it makes.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, MBWA, management by walking around. Some of this stuff, it's so high-minded on the one hand and it's so practical on the other. And I think the dance of those two worlds, like people that they see regularly and taking that half second. Well, that's okay. So that's the perfect segue to the last question that I like to ask. And I'm very curious what you might share, having accomplished everything you've accomplished. But I love asking people about, what's a productivity hack? Because it's this crazy time. We're so flipping busy. Mm-hmm. Everybody's busy. When people say, how you doing? I don't even say I'm busy anymore because I'm like, that's a non-answer. Mm-hmm. Everyone is busy. And in the face of all that, there are things that help us produce at the level we're committed to producing. Mm-hmm. So you're in your new job, you're starting your new company. What are some things that are working for you about making Susan's life really, or your professional world really sing?
Honestly, preparation.
Okay.
And preparation as early on as possible. Everything from laying out your clothes.
Lesson from Gap.
Yes.
Another lesson from school.
I know, right? But seriously, I lay out my clothes and have a plan for everything in my following day and the next day. And I think it's so important. And just kind of reflecting back on all of these things like the Gap and also the Olympics, going to that starting line or standing up for that presentation and knowing that I've done everything that I needed to do for this moment, that gives me confidence and that gives me relief that I can perform at my highest level. Because it is really the most important thing. We all know when we go into a presentation where we're like, oh crap, I'm not really prepared, or your nerves are so high and there's so much tension. And I think preparation is absolutely key to productivity. Boom.
She said it.
Can we drop this mic?
Drop the podcast. Well, to throw the UCLA against it, failing to prepare is preparing to fail is a famous Coach Wooden line. And I've seen at the Wooden Awards where he would say, they say, how did you support your players during the game? He said, I don't talk to my players during the game.
That's the same.
If I did my job well, we got it done in practice. Exactly. They got to talk to each other. I'm not on the court. Those 5 people have to do the ballet of basketball. 10 hands, score a basket. So it was all about preparation. His focus was writing out. They say he wrote his basketball drills on 3x5 cards, and it would start on time, it would end on time. It was meticulous, and that's where he aimed. He aimed at preparation. The result was 10 national championships, but the access to that result was not flail about on the sideline at the game. It's too late then. Mm-hmm. They said he would roll up the bulletin or the program, and he'd pace the sidelines, and he'd pick the other team's strongest player, and then he'd engage in psychological warfare. Like the tall guy. He he'd be the point guard. He'd be talking about his dribble, or the tall guy. He'd be saying, you can't, whatever. But his players were prepared. And his players were communicating. And that gives
so much confidence to those players.
Yeah.
Because they also know exactly what to expect.
Yeah. Coach trusts us, and he got us here. But now we got to, you were in the boat. You were on your GAP team. And, your GAP advisor was in the stands. Your Coach Tom was on the sidelines. You all were the 8 women in the boat who What do you say when you start a race? Is they fire a gun? What makes it start?
Luckily,
they say
go? It's a light.
It's a light.
There's a light.
Yeah. So,
and a beep.
A light and a beep.
Yeah. So just when we kind of take off and start.
And then roll like hell.
Roll like hell. Yeehaw!
All right, she rode her horse up from San Diego, ladies and gentlemen.
Now it's time to ride into the dusk.
We get great sunsets in our beautiful new Marian Anderson Hall. So,
is there horse parking here?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Just kidding.
I thought Cynthia gave you a code for the
horse.
For the horse. Hay and water. Whiskey for what is it? Beer
that's
for my
whiskey for us.
Beer for my men and whiskey for my horses. I think that's a country and western song. I think. Sorry, my Texan is showing. All right, this is Susan Francia, class of 2018, UCLA Anderson alum, incredible part of our village and our community. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Thanks for everything you did to represent America. Thanks for representing UCLA. Thanks for being a wonderful person, and thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Go Bruins. And if you want to find me, just look up Susan Francia on Instagram. I'm happy to answer any questions. And, Dylan, you can also throw my email on there. I'm really happy to answer any questions about UCLA or my Olympic experience. So
thank you. Yes, and you can find Coach Francia LLC for team building for your company. You also do inspirational speaking. Throw a plug in for that.
That's right. Hey, if you weren't inspired today, well, don't ask for a refund, okay?
Your subscription fee. You're not getting it back for this incredible Drive Time podcast. All right. Thank you all very much. Thanks.
It's gold for United States, it's silver for Canada.
And I looked through the guide of sports that you could join, and one of them was rowing, and it said, walk-ons welcome. I remember thinking, all right, cool, yeah, maybe I'll go try this out. And I went to the very first walk-on meeting for rowing. I remember walking in, I'll never forget it, into this big auditorium, and I walked down to take a seat, and I remember these girls staring at me, and then this one said, she was on the team already, "You're gonna be awesome." It's yeah, I love rowing. This is a great sport. So it was so cool. I was yeah, never picked up an oar, but I was this is my favorite sport ever. So The cool thing is, luckily, it was finally got to live up to potential. And I got into the boat, and I remember I was like, man, this is so cool. I'm on the water, and I remember being in this aid, and no one has any idea what they're doing. And I'm just looking around, looking at the Philadelphia skyline, and I remember I'm just not even paying attention. I just punched the girl in the back in front of me with my oar. She turns around what the hell are you? I'm like, I'm sorry, I'm the best rower. Remember, that's me. In 2008, we got to Beijing. We kept very focused. We had an awesome race, and I got to come away with this. Thank you. Yeah. No. Stop it. It gets better. Oh. I remember being out on the water and thinking, oh my gosh, I love this. I really, really love this. And I think, I know you guys have your three-peat and you're going for 4 or 5 and beyond. And I think that part of that is from a passion. And not just it's a grind. It's when you realize that you know what, you're passionate. You're passionate about what you do and the product that you're getting out there. And for me, it was realizing that I'm passionate about rowing and doing what I love. So it's not work. It's fun. It's been truly a wonderful experience, and I never, ever, ever would have thought that I would go from most spirited to having 2 gold medals. And it's really, it's really not something that, obviously it doesn't happen overnight. It's something that I had to work really hard for, but I'm really glad that I did it because, hey, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you guys.